Oh wait, no longer. Greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players, for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, if you're listening to this show, you can listen wherever you get your RSS feed, iTunes, Spotify, even on youtube.com/badbitgames. And if you really, really like us, you could drop us a 5-star review on iTunes, or if you really, really, really like us, you could go and donate at patreon.com/badbit. So with all that said, and with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you? I ran out of breath
That's
twice.
fine.
I did not nail it.
It's okay. Time. It's serviceable, but better than that. It was still great. I'm doing okay. I'm glad to be back in my home for this episode. Yeah. Last week I was at your house, which was weird. I have plenty more headroom now, out of Zoom. So we're good.
Yeah, yeah. You don't look like Gandalf. I don't look like a little ant. But that was a fun experiment, though, because I genuinely did like using Zoom. But the problem with using Zoom is if it's more than 3 people, you got to pay for it. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Come on, you know what I mean? You know what day and age it is? I don't know. But with us this week is our good friend, host of the Xbox Drive, Mr. Sean Capri.
Guys, I'm so happy to be here. I get so filled with joy when your podcast pops up in my feed, and to be on the show, I feel like I'm just meeting my heroes. And they say not to do that, but you guys are all right.
Thank you for that glowing recommendation.
Is that all right? Is that okay to say? I love you guys. You're the best.
We love you too.
I can't believe I'm on the trophy room. This is a big deal, dude.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I was on your show last week. I forgot what we talked about. But now this week, we got a lot of news. And I still don't know what we're talking about this week. I'm only kidding. This week, we're talking about the leaks out of Naughty Dog. We're going to be talking about the leaks out of Gorilla. And also, what else? Oh, yeah, Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. I wasn't looking at the notes. So with that said, with all that out of the way, before we get into the big, juicy Last of Us spoiler news, I do need to state this. Before we talk about what we've been playing, if you're on the YouTube end, we've noticed a lot of our PlayStation brethren out there, they've been getting the game spoiled for them, The Last of Us. So what we're going to do from here until June 19th is we're going to have to disable comments on YouTube because people are outright searching for Last of Us titles just to drop in the spoiler of the game. So it's really evil. I know, Sean, you're open mouth.
That is disgusting. Oh my gosh. Yes. I knew that the spoilers and the leaks and everything were a thing. I didn't realize it was to that degree.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Who raised these kids?
I don't know.
Well, they're just miserable. That's what we'll get to the bottom of it in a second. But and we've even upped our security on all the things. So we have to be
because I'm not having a God of War moment with Last of Us Part 2. I had it spoiled for me, Sean.
Don't spoil it for me. I'm not done it yet. I might have an opportunity to play it soon.
But yeah.
So don't you dare.
I don't want that same feeling again.
I accidentally spoiled some of Gears 5 in our review chat about Gears Tactics. I just left it in there. It's just Oscar.
Listen, you had,
it's just
9
Oscar.
months?
Who cares about him? He was such a who cares character, and I cared about him. I'll spoil it here too.
You know what? We'll start with you, Sean, because you talked about the review that you guys just did, which is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Which is Gears Tactics. Go ahead.
Well, I'll keep it to a tweet. I know it's not what everybody in PlayStation Land cares about, but finally we have a first-party game that is pretty solid. Played it on the PC with all the FPSs and the Ks. I think I've only got Ps, actually. I think I've got about 1,000 or so Ps. But Gears Tactics is a good game, man. It's moment-to-moment. Gameplay is really fun, and I'm going to be, I think, streaming it pretty soon here when I jump back onto that front. But it's just kind of nice. In Xbox Land to have Ori and now Gears Tactics as very, very solid games in the lineup, and we're not, it's not Crackdown anymore. It's not just Bleeding Edge is sort of like the ARMS of Xbox Land, where it's sort of sandwiched in between two solid other. It was just filler. It was there to say that there was a game, and Gears Tactics it's very, very good, and I'm glad to see a lot of positive response to it online.
Yeah. And it's Gears of War meets XCOM, right?
XCOM, yeah.
With a lot of heavy emphasis on XCOM.
Okay, so
combat.
This is the thing. The thing about Gears Tactics that really stands out is just how much of Gears comes into the XCOM. So the things that you're kind of rewarded for doing are the things that you love to do in Gears of War, which is go up behind a big locust guy and chop him up from his butthole all the way up to his nose hole with your chainsaw.
You call it a zipper.
A zipper, of course.
Yeah.
And you by doing that, your crew is rewarded with another action. So you can start to like chain together, like where you thought you only had like one move left. You get one extra by this guy executing this person, and this guy explodes this person, and you start to get like 6 moves in a row, and you go from just about dying to totally winning the battle. And that's a huge...
It's just all about, like, taking risks and chaining combos together.
Totally. Yeah, and it's all the things that, like, cool. It's directly from Gears. Like, the stuff that you like doing, like popping somebody's head off with a sniper rifle or chainsawing somebody in half. It's all good stuff. It's super fun, man. So...
Nice. Well, again, go ahead. Go listen to that on the Xbox Drive, podcast services, and all that jazz. You know where to go. iTunes, Spotify, RSS feeds. You know. I don't have to tell you. And Kyle... What have you been playing good, sir?
Mostly just Final Fantasy VII Remake. We talked about it on our Road to Greatness episode, so I don't want to go too far in depth to it. Mm-hmm. I have the Platinum now, which I'm very happy about, for those who have not listened to that episode yet. Yeah, it is everything I wanted it to be and more, and I'm excited for the future of whatever this remake series is going to be, because they can go places for sure.
Kyle, I have a question about this game.
Yeah.
I have a question, because I've also been playing this. I haven't just been playing Gears Tactics.
Sure.
I've also been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have a very serious gaming-related question. How turned on am I supposed to be while playing this game? Like, overall?
That's true.
Well, on the nipple check meter, you should be, like, half hard.
A hubby on the nipples.
Yeah, at all times playing that game. Because
Okay,
if the character interactions are doing it for you, or the character models, it's the sweet combat. So, like, they have to be somewhat...
Good point.
They have to be somewhat there.
Yeah. No, I'm loving it.
Who's your favorite girl? I mean, that Chelsea doesn't...
Me? Tifa. Tifa, I feel like it's a...
Right?
But Jessie is surprising. She kind of just, I'm like, really, like, I kind of want just like another, she comes in very short spurts, at least at the point that I'm in, and she's just like, she's there and then she's gone. I'm like, can I just spend like one more second with you? I just want to ask you one other thing. Like, you know?
Jessie's the girl at the college party that you run into and then never see again. But you always think about.
True. That's a good point.
To me, she's the girl in math class. She's going to flirt with you to get, answer 7 on the test. That's what she's going to do. She's smart. She's, for me, just wait until you see Cloud in that blue dress.
Good point.
With that, guys, listen. All right. We're going to get into some sad news. But before we do have one bit of good news, and that is we got some new patrons. We're going to start doing the whole Patreon shout-outs again. I'm sorry for the month of April because things have gotten a little bit out of hand, a little bit crazy. We kind of got, sidetracked a bit. So first and foremost, if you're a patron or if you're not a patron over at BadBit on patreon.com/badbit, make sure head on over there. Everything is free at the moment because we get it. You're bored. I'm bored. We have a bunch of new shows for you guys and gals to listen to, like our Road to Greatness for Final Fantasy VII. So if you're into all that jazz, go ahead. Patreon.com/badbit does help us out. And again, Patreon will be back to normal in June. That's when we're going to start bringing everything back to its normal pace. So with that, big shout out to our new patrons, Griffin West and Hafsa Saeed. If I mispronounce any of your names, my apologies. And our gold producers, Robbie Bobby Miller himself, our Silver Plus members, Ray Martinez and JB the Purple Monkey himself. Again, Patreon helps us out so very much, and it means so much when we see new patrons and activity there. So thank you all so very much. And with that, Kyle, it's time to square up the news.
A little bit of sad news for us PlayStation fans, what we alluded to earlier. PSA, The Last of Us 2 spoilers have apparently leaked. This comes from Joseph Screbbles at IGN. Naughty Dog has released a message from its official social media account addressing The Last of Us Part 2 leaks, as well as the new June 19th release date. Naughty Dog writes, quote, "We know the last few days have been incredibly difficult for you. We feel the same. It's disappointing to see the release and sharing or pre-release footage from development. Do your best to avoid spoilers, and we ask that you don't spoil it for others," end quote. Naughty Dog added, "The Last of Us Part 2 will be in your hands soon. No matter what you see and hear, the final experience will be worth it. The Last of Us Part 2 will be released on June 19th, with Ghost of Tsushima pushed back to July 17th.
So, gang, of course, we got a lot of thoughts. We got a lot of opinions on this matter. There's a lot to divulge, and there's a lot of rumors and speculation behind these supposed leaks, but from what we can kind of gather through tweets and some reporters outright just saying it, this was a leak caused internally at Naughty Dog. A disgruntled employee that was upset about a pay dispute decided that it was going to be taken upon themselves to leak out literally everything that happens in The Last of Us Part 2. Because before this, The Last of Us was delayed indefinitely. And we did not have a release date of June 19th. Now we do, but now we also know if you're not careful enough, so please start muting everything on your social media regarding characters, the game itself, and even misspellings or adding numbers in there. It's going to definitely help. This news sucks. It's awful, and I just want to get a gut check in the room. And I'm going to start with you, Sean, because you named your daughter Ellie. How does this make you feel?
Well, I'm glad that it's in June. I feel like that's the right home for The Last of Us 2. But I'll never understand people who get off on this sort of thing. I think it's incredibly immature, obviously, for that type of move to happen. I don't think that any time that you leave an organization, you should just leave. If that's like, just keep it between you and your boss, and if you want to just like burn that bridge individually, then just do that. The thing is like that team has, and we'll all talk about, like, it obviously spoils things for people who play the game, and it ruins things for the people who made the game as well. But it really spits in the face of your colleagues as well, that you felt like you were the one who should make this move instead of just burning the single bridge. It kind of ruins the face of the organization, and I don't know, man. I think it's awful. It's, what else is there to be said about it?
No, I mean, I think you're right on the money. It's like, there's better ways. Yeah. Like, when I used to work at GameStop, one person really mad at the manager. So what did he do? Took it upon himself to do an upper decker in the toilet.
Right. Like, what do you...
And he won that personal battle. Like, why couldn't you just do a simple upper decker? You know what I mean, Sean?
Yeah, it is. I have to think, like, how mature is this person? How old are they? Like, what other experiences do they have? And it just screams to me just like a young person just trying to, like, make a name for themselves, or trying to, like, they probably feel like they're
be a martyr.
That's exactly the word I'm dancing around. Exactly, is trying to make a show out of it. And it's not necessary. Like, you can have your dispute, and I'm not here to decide whether or not that person was paid fairly or whatever. I have no idea. All I know is that I would have had sympathy for that situation, but I have zero sympathy now. Like, they probably got what was coming to them. If this is the way that they act in this sort of situation, they probably did something else that maybe led to a negative situation in the workplace. But
yeah, jokes aside and upper deckers aside, Kyle, your first impressions, first thoughts when you got the news.
What a shitty thing to happen. Not just for us as fans that have been looking forward to this being like one of the biggest games of the year. Have potential spoilers out there to tell us what happens across the story, and taking the discovery away from us, the players, of finding that out on our own. But to the team that put together and spent, we already know the crazy amount of hours into putting this game together and creating what this story is. I feel bad for them, because if anything, from getting more in depth behind the scenes of some of these studios, like I look at the documentary Raising Kratos, right, from Sony Santa Monica, and when they bring the trailer to E3 for the first time to show off, and Kratos steps out. What a beautiful moment for us, the fans, to see that. But to see their excitement of how excited everyone else is just as equally matched to ours. So the fact that, once again, the spoilers are taking away that enjoyment from them and their hard work is also just equally awful. It just, that person who, whatever, like Sean said, like, we're not here to dispute whether they were paid fairly or not, or mistreated, but, like, that's not how you act in this day and age, especially as a grown-up with a job.
Do you guys now know what happens? I don't know I don't know the spoilers.
Joe knows. I do not know.
I know one thing. Yeah. I know one thing, and it was so real talk. There was an account that was just outright every single word you can throw out there to get SEO for you to see it on Twitter. So I went to block the account, and one of the main ones was on the pinned tweet. But I saw the sentence, and like a second of the scene, I was like, Dang it.
Yep.
But so like my relationship with spoilers, I mean, Kyle, you've alluded to it. You hate them.
With
It
a
ruined
passion.
your experience with God
And
of War.
Harry Potter back in the day. I told you that off camera.
Right.
A friend spoiled when Snape kills Dumbledore for me while I was
Thanks.
reading. Yeah, it's all right. It's been a while.
I'm right here.
But
Not
I was
even a heads
I was in the middle of reading that book, and then he spoiled it for me, and I put that book down for a whole year because I was that upset at him. So spoilers actively have affected my enjoyment of things, and in some cases, like I rush through things so that way it does not get spoiled for me. Yeah.
I mean, so like my first thoughts, obviously this person's immature, but like to me, if this is a dispute about the crunch culture in Naughty Dog, this is not how you make your side look good.
Right.
This is not how you make your side look right. And I think you really, you now are going to have a vocal force out there going, as opposition because of this one person's insane and deranged antics. For me, when it comes to like my relationship with spoilers, they just change your perspective of what's happening. Like, it's not the end of the world for me. If I lose the obviously, I would like to go in completely blind. But I'm not losing anything too valuable when that scene happens. So, like, for example, season 3 of Breaking Bad, the final episode where things get pretty wacky and crazy for Mr. Walt White. When I saw what happened at the end of that season, that was the first episode I ever watched of that show. I was just like, I need to see what happens here. I need to see how we led up to this point. So, like, at the end of the day, if, like, I see the scene where Joel turns into a giraffe and he starts morphing into one and it's getting fucking nuts. If I see that scene, I don't know. That's out of context. I want to know how he turns into a giraffe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, for me, like, walking into Walking Dead, season 1. Sean, I broke Sean.
They always do. This is a live, like, recording of what happens when I listen to you guys. Like,
we
Joe.
are on the train and then people are like, what the
Pretty
hell?
much.
What's going on? So, like, for season 1 of Walking Dead, I know what happens at the end of that game. I played it. Yeah. And I played it and I was just like, whoa. That moment, those final scenes still resonated, still made me tear up like a big dummy. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, I know what's gonna happen for sure. It's how we're getting there. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. So for me, it's not the end of the world. It does suck, and I think that person is a real goober for doing it. But my question is this: there has to be also some responsibility to be laid on at Naughty Dog. When we hear in Kotaku's Jason Schreier article, where Jason interviewed one person in particular, they're like, there's some of us here that really hope this game fails because the way we're being worked. There are people working in your company that is cheering your failures. And now who knows if that person, because why would you say that? Holy crap. But like, still, that's a failure on as a company. If someone's working at your company hoping it goes under or hoping that it takes a hit so it learns that this way of working isn't right, there has to be some responsibility at Naughty Dog as well for this, right, Kyle?
This is where it gets tough for me. Like, yeah, I understand that their studio is obviously treating its employees not as well as they should be, right? But I don't think having something like this happen is a way to bring them down. I think that just brings down the effort of the work that the people already put in. So in my mind, I feel like all those workers going through all that stuff are getting impacted more than Naughty Dog as a whole because they're being pushed to the limit. And then their hard work that they lost countless hours of family time and personal stuff is now being spoiled and being ruined. And so the whole thing just becomes invalidated. And I don't think that will affect Naughty Dog really as much as the individuals that are working there.
What say you, Sean? Do you think that there's also some blame to be put on upper management at Naughty Dog about how they're running their company? I mean, we could read that whole article on Kotaku again, talking about how, the crunch culture is intense over at Naughty Dog, right? And people, again, rooting for this game to fail so that the company learns.
Yeah, I don't have a popular opinion on a lot of this stuff because the Jason Schreier articles are not two-sided; they are one-sided, and so a lot of people give him a lot of credit for the journalistic integrity and all that kind of stuff. But an investigative piece has both sides, and it's unbiased. But he has an agenda to raise awareness to this, and that's fair to him. And it's a good agenda, and it's a good thing to draw awareness to. But we need to, when we're talking about these things, like they're probably like I've worked at places that have the exact same thing. People are burnt out and they get worked really hard. But you have to think about every single interaction between like a person and their coach or their supervisor or whatever it is. And that's where the meat of it is. And that never comes out in any of this stuff. So I don't know whether or not, maybe it is like 100%, it's top down and they're being real dicks about it. But I have a hard time believing that because so many people choose to work there, and it's more than just, I love The Last of Us, and it's more than I love Uncharted and things like that. There are good things happening there, and even as an Xbox primarily fan, but certainly as somebody, like you said, I named my daughter Ellie.
Gamer.
There have got to be good stories to be told within Naughty Dog, and it's frustrating to me that those aren't being told, at least as a balancing effort. Like, we get it. Things are tough, and that story has been well told at this point, but it cannot be the entire story. So it's hard for me to really comment on the whole thing without having that piece of it.
No, I think, listen, I don't think it's like the unpopular opinion. I think it's the opinion we just don't hear a lot about, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Look, crunch culture sucks, but like it is a very gray issue because there's going to be a point in your life that you do crunch. So what's the acceptable amount of crunch, right? Obviously it's not 6 months. Obviously it's not weeks on end. But, like, there are going to be points where you're working 60, 70 hours a week to put, bread on the table or, to ship out a product. So, to me, the thing that enters my mind when you say that is, like, look, a person who really loves animation and has a skill for it, has a knack, and has that thirst for it, they're going to go out there, they're going to try to be the very best, and they're going to put in the hours of work. And if their dream is to work at Pixar, well, I mean, that comes through hours of dedication, of skill, and luck. And then when you're there, what is it? It's not like a chill out time, right? It's time to put the effort in. Like when you see a character move and animate in a Pixar movie, you're just like, whoa, that looks real. Water looks real. The hair, it moves individually. Like, there are things that blow your mind. Well, that's hours upon hours of hard work and dedication. I do think that you're right in some regard there, Sean, where it's just like, yeah, we do only have one side of the story about crunch. Obviously, crunch equal bad, but again, there is a more complex conversation to kind of have about this. It is one-sided. I do believe that. But at the same exact time, man, if most of your studio is just unhappy, there has to be a cause to that. Well, and I truly
believe that it's a short-term win to work your team that hard because they will leave. Or in this case, I just feel like there's a platform to be had now for speaking out about this, and there's a certain people are getting a reward out of that, and that's not the reinforcement I think that should be had. It's eventually this sort of thing kind of works itself out in terms of people won't want to work there, in which case it's harder and harder to attract top talent, in which case it's harder to make great games, and then you're selling kind of crappy games. And I feel like there are examples of that throughout the industry of people just not wanting to work somewhere because of whatever culture they have. It's like any other workplace. So I think it's just longer term and that's where the immaturity comes in to go like, I need an action now. I need to say something now so that this fails now. But just
because nothing I'm seeing is changing for me right now in this moment.
And that's fair. That's a very fair sentiment. I totally understand it, but things will more naturally kind of take care of themselves. It'd be very interesting to see fast forward in 10 years. What does the future hold for Naughty Dog? But we'll never know because a lot of it will be because of the public outcry and all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's true, and it does scream like a person that wants to be a martyr for a cause that they are adamant about. And to me, what you say is kind of like it's a sentiment for me. I've watched Lincoln. You know that movie, Lincoln? There's a scene he talks about true north, and a compass will point you into the direction of true north. and it's talking about ideology. It's like your ideology moves to or moves you in that direction, but there are going to be things in your way that you'll have to maneuver around, meaning you're going to have to sacrifice on things, you're going to have to compromise, and you're going to have to be patient to get to your destination. Because though True North will point you in the right direction, it doesn't account for the obstacles that lay in your way.
Yeah.
And so
I think when I talk about getting the other side of the story, like I'd love to hear Neil's side of the story here too, because you have to think about who's running the show and what experience these people have. Neil's been busting his ass off forever. And so when you put that type of person in charge, then that's kind of what the expectation is. And he maybe has to mature as a leader as well to say, maybe that's not the right way to go about running the business. Just because I was able to put in 100 hours a week, that doesn't mean that 200 other people should be expected to do that as well. And this is where that long game starts to come in. And that's where that side of the conversation, it just sucks that it's not part of it. So
that, and it sucks that this is the example that, you will, and there's no doubt about it. Microsoft's going to have a conversation about this. Nintendo's having a conversation. Ubisoft, EA, Activision, they're all looking at this situation going, all right, whoa, what do we do? Right? There's going to be an after damage report on this, and they're probably working on it right now of how do we make sure that this never happens again, which leads to my final question here. They said that COVID was the thing that was delaying this game, right? They couldn't print enough discs to push this game out, and they delayed it indefinitely. Now, it kind of seems like that excuse is sort of bullshit. It's coming out June 19th. What do you feel about it possibly coming out in an environment where we do have an epidemic, that people are still struggling and are out of work because of? Kyle, what do you say that? Because I see a lot of reviews out there with the Gears of War Tactics one in particular of like, this is a great game, just comes out at the wrong time. Are we going to start seeing those reviews like that?
Oh man, see, I don't know if I agree with that kind of review, because I think you need to base it on the game itself, not our.
Not your mood at the time.
Yeah, not what the world is like. Like, yeah, the world sucks, money's tight everywhere, but I still think they need to get the game out there for whatever reason. So the fact that it was delayed indefinitely and then just magically is now like a month later, it's a little weird. Maybe they're going for a more digital push, maybe because that's easier. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know how they could switch it like that after saying indefinitely.
It was like an overnight switch.
Yeah, it was very quick. I don't know.
How about you, Sean?
I think
what's your feeling on
the
this?
indefinitely word is the one that I hang up on a little bit, is that indefinitely just means that it's not defined. It's not like they didn't know when it was. It wasn't indefinitely. A lot of times people hear that and they go like, well, that means forever. It just means that there is no definition to the new date. So it wasn't really like, it didn't really strike me as, well, this is soon coming off of indefinitely. It was just like, well, now they have a date. Now
they have a definite date.
It is not indefinite, I guess. I believe every part of their story, honestly, and I think that they needed to push the date out a little bit to develop more discs, but also to hope for an environment in which case people can go buy the discs. You can't go anywhere you can't walk into a Best Buy right now. You can't go into a GameStop and everything else. And we were talking a lot about like Animal Crossing and how its physical sales were enormous, and it was one of the last games that sort of like survived all the closures, and now everything's done and physical sales are down for everything else. So I understand where Sony was coming from on the push, but it obviously needs to happen and needs to launch with enough distance away from the PS5 to make it a solid PS4 game. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of... I think the world is just frustrated, and we as gamers were already frustrated and outraged about everything, and so you lock us all up in our houses and take away half of our jobs, like... Everything's going to bounce at people off the wrong way, but I'm here to be the voice of reason.
Everybody's going to want a fucking haircut.
Are we not just happy that we're getting The Last of Us and it's sooner than maybe we thought a moment ago? Like,
absolutely.
June is a great time because wasn't that when the first one came out? I'm positive it was
June
2013.
10th,
so it's a great time. I feel like that's where it belongs. And I just can't wait to play that. It gives me like a nice way to plan for that date, because I'll be playing that day one, man.
Yeah, same here. Again, you could spoil everything. I personally don't don't care too much because it's about that journey. That's the reason why I play games. It's the reason why I go out and watch movies. It's the reason why we consume everything.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know if any of your listeners create anything in dreams? Does anybody create anything in dreams?
No.
In case they do, I would just like to spotlight something that you said. If somebody could make in dreams Joel turning into a giraffe, I think that would just be a real winner. Joel the giraffe is that's something that I want to see, dude. And then whatever drugs Ellie has to take as she's experimenting, as she's going through her young adult years to dream that or see that.
I'd say we turn into a time travel, so the giraffes in the first game are actually Joel.
Might be Joel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like he turns into the Toys R Us mascot.
Jeffrey.
He turns into Jeffrey. Joel turns into Jeffrey, confirmed. Sorry for that spoiler.
Damn, ruined everything.
Yeah. With that, guys, gang, let's get into some review speculation, because you know what? This week's news, wow, not a lot. Kyle, let's square up this piece of news, shall we?
Absolutely. This one comes from Sharif Saeed from VG247. Report Horizon Zero Dawn 2 to feature gigantic world and co-op mode. According to a new report from VGC, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, a sequel to Guerrilla Games' 2017 open-world action game, is currently in the works. The news isn't especially surprising. Sony doesn't like to abandon its big series, and Horizon Zero Dawn ended up selling over 10 million copies over its life. What is interesting, however, is that the game reportedly started out as a PS4 title, but was later moved to PS5. People familiar with Horizon Zero Dawn 2 says Guerrilla had always planned for Horizon to be a trilogy, but the success of the first game convinced Sony to commit, and so development began sometime after the first game shipped. VGC's report says Guerrilla is working on some sort of co-op gameplay, though it's not clear whether that will end being baked in for the entire game or as part of a separate mode. Guerrilla had planned for the original game to have co-op, but ended up axing that feature. The developer is so committed to the idea, in fact, it was reportedly working on a standalone co-op game that would be set between the first game and Horizon Zero Dawn 2, with player progress carrying over to the sequel. VGC's sources aren't sure, however, if these plans remain. Sources told the site that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is gigantic in its scope, with a bigger emphasis on player freedom and a larger world.
Now, Kyle, we already made the perfect Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. This does seem kind of up our alley. Yeah. I want to know, does this changes or player freedom sounds cute, but the implementation of co-op, that's the thing I really want to dive deep here with you. Does nip check on it?
Oh.
Does that get the nips hard?
No, there's softening by the second.
What?
I'm not a call.
So what do you want to see out of a Horizon game?
I just want more Aloy in this world. I don't care if I play with somebody else, honestly.
But what if I'm there with you, Kyle?
Joe, I have given up. Let's get real for a second. I've given up playing any games with you. You're always playing with Luke Lore on Xbox and your Apex and your...
What?
We were supposed to play Borderlands 2 together.
Actually, you know what? Kyle and I will play games together. You're right. Joe is always playing games with Luke Lore.
I never get a fucking phone call from this guy. You know how many texts I gotta send to get an answer? This guy's a diva. He's out doing shows left and right.
How dare you, sir?
You know? I'd love to play a game with you. What if I'm a little Strider companion? I'm like a parrot. I sit on your shoulder. I tell jokes.
That's the co-op part in this Horizon Zero Dawn 2 game?
I'd love it. Yes.
Bring it back to the game itself. I don't want co-op at all. I want to just play by myself in a single-player open world thing. I don't know how a co-op would work exactly. Is it another Aloy next to me? Because are we going to fight over who's Aloy in this game?
Maybe Beloy.
Oh, there you go. You got it. And then C-Loy and D-Loy, you know.
That's right. D-Loy.
D-Loy.
Sean, what would you want to see out of a Horizon game? Because I know you weren't the biggest fan of it, if I'm not mistaken, right? It didn't jive with you well?
I liked it.
So what would you want to see?
I like the mystery of what happened the best out of it. I felt like all the tribal people that I was talking to, I couldn't tell you any of their names. I don't care about any of those people. Right. But the mystery of what you're uncovering was just some of the best. So I would say I was conflicted about this game, and it was also very hyped up. So I often have a hipster well, it's not that cool kind of approach to most things. But it's very interesting hearing Kyle's take on this versus where I'm imagining you're going. And to somebody who plays a lot of Xbox, this is starting to look a lot like what what Xbox has been known for, which is a lot of co-op, versus what Kyle has been used to on PlayStation, which is single-player, narrative-heavy, action-adventure game. Like, this is not that, and so his reaction is actually maybe a little bit expectant. I imagine a lot of people listening will be in the same camp. But if you've experienced something like playing Gears of War with a friend, it is awesome. It's super fun, and especially if this world is enormous, like I just think about maybe like splitting up and covering double the ground and being able to kind of work together and coming back to a camp in a way and sharing your loot and things like that.
That's the thing that kind of that gets me a little excited, because we talk about, you know, the PlayStation 5 with this, you know, super SSD and how you're able to create games in a totally new way, breaking barriers, yada, yada, yada. Usually in co-op, you can't stray way too far away from, you know, your partner before things get a little hairy. Now with the next gen, I think this is a great way to implement that new IO technology to say, hey, no, Aloy could be in one side of the map and Zeloy could be on the other side and nothing bad happens, right? You're getting no frame rate issues. So that's the thing that excites me about this game, is seeing that tech being used. My question here for you, Sean, you're an Xbox dork, right? We all know it. I make fun of you behind your back about it. Halo Infinite versus Horizon Zero Dawn. Seems like these two are going to go toe-to-toe.
Oh, good one.
What do you think, average consumer here, what do you think has the more impact? Because to me, as a PlayStation guy, I say Halo.
Yeah, I think I agree. Now, Horizon, is it just rumored to be coming out on PC, or is it confirmed?
It's coming out on PC.
And I can't remember, is that like
the first one?
Very soon? So where I'm going with this line of thought is, like, had you asked me this exact same question before the Master Chief Collection was released on Steam and on PC, I probably would have been leaning more towards the PlayStation camp, because everybody's loving, like, this game comes up a lot, and it was an instant banger, an instant classic, and just like a brand new IP, and they just hit it out of the park with this when they were obviously working on Killzone and everything else before. So a lot of potential here. But when Halo hit PCs and then just like dominated, and every time they add a little something to that Master Chief Collection on PC, I am reminded of the might of Halo. Like, Halo is massive, and Ryan and I talked about this a little bit on the Xbox Drive that will come out the exact same day as our sister podcast here, the Trophy Room, that the narrative is changing in Xbox land. It's not cool to hate on Xbox anymore, and it's not cool to hate on Gears or Halo anymore. It's cool to like them again, and that matters, and that's kind of what we're seeing with the reviews of things like Gears Tactics, where, like, it's an 8, but 8s used to get slammed in Xbox land, and now we're celebrating them again. And it's a good score to have, and so I think Xbox is on that softer side of things. That Phil Spencer led leadership, people like to like Xbox again. It's not like this thing that you have to be ashamed about. Like, well, I kind of like the Kinect or whatever it was. Like, it's genuinely a good console again. It's a good platform to be on.
Yeah, that's usually what dorks would say.
Yeah.
I do think, though, you're correct. I think having a Halo Infinite and then just go, you know, on day and date and have it at launch and have it in Game Pass, I think that's the recipe for success. Whereas I think, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, it's out there. It is a instant classic, like you say, but it still doesn't have that billion-dollar franchise money behind it like a Halo does. That's why I think when comes launch of both these consoles, we're going to see another heavy hitter out of PlayStation, either out the gate or around that time. That launch window time. I personally do think, my heart of hearts, it's not Bloodborne 2. It would be an Uncharted. It would be that other bigger title that I do think could go head to head with the likes of a Halo.
I think God of War could.
One of their big.
I think God of War could with its... I mean, like, I know that most people think of just the last game, but, like, that's a PlayStation franchise. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like... That game has evolved throughout the history of PlayStation, and it has been there for major moments in PlayStation history. So I'd be a little bit more dicey about, like, would you put God of War up against Halo? I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, God of War's got decades, just like Halo does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why when Joe asked you that question, like, head-to-head... I almost said Aloy versus Master Chief in Halo. Halo's going to win every battle because Aloy is still fresh in video game, just lore basically. But I honestly think if PS5 launches with just Horizon Zero Dawn 2, I think that is strong enough to not have another Sony heavy hitter along with it. I think this game, the first game was pretty great, and I think a sequel to it will be able to sell systems no problem.
That's so interesting. I've actually never thought of it in this way. Of like, we are legit going to see some real monsters coming out on day one. This is the Nintendo Switch playbook of launching a console. You come out with your best, and it's like, okay, we'll see what we got. And it all, even though it's a new generation, it is connected to this generation, in that The Last of Us can't be it. Uncharted can't be it, because those teams are like, and that game is coming out this year. So what are you left with? And it's like, yeah, Xbox has taken the L for the last couple of years, but like, they've been gearing up for a big swing to start this console generation out. It's so, I love this. Like, I'm not trying to be like fanboy about it. I just love like the moves and everything.
Yeah.
It's
you
so
come
fun.
into my house, you start saying things.
I got my look. Can I show everybody my Spider-Man PS4? I don't want to rip it out anymore.
No,
I mean,
knock it off,
that is another reason why I don't think Sony needs to have another heavy hitter, because they'll be like, hey, you could also play Ghost and Last of Us Part 2 on release day of PS5.
Yeah. And also, speaking of sequels, let's talk about our next story on the list.
Let's do it.
Here.
Matt Purslow at IGN writes, Final Fantasy VII Remake producer wants to keep developing small chunks at a fast pace. Final Fantasy VII Remake's co-director Tetsuya Nomura has said that he would like to deliver the next part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake story quickly, and to do so would require focusing on a smaller portion of the overall plot. The quote comes from an interview in Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania, a guide and lore book now available in Japan. The quotes were shared online by Twitter account Aibo and translated by IGN Japan, and included this snippet from producer Yoshinori Kitase and co-director Nomura. Quote, "It all depends on how many parts we make," said Nomura. "If we separate it into bigger chunks, it will take more time. But if we take smaller portions, it can be done on a shorter span. Personally, I would like to deliver it fast," end quote.
Seems like a hint towards the future of that game. Marcus O'Neill writes in, with the recent report that Final Fantasy VII Remake's second installment could be smaller than the first, I'm curious, when you guys think it will release? What timeline are we looking at for the story to be finished? So, Kyle, you were kind of hinting at this on the road to greatness. What are your personal thoughts of saying, let's maybe do smaller stories so we could get them out faster? Does that kind of worry you that this is going to be a 8-episode chunk like, instead of like a 3 episodes? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm not into this smaller story thing. I want them to continue what they did with this first one and not break it down, because I don't want eight separate games. I want them to have it all in one thing. Like I mentioned, I think it might be a trilogy, right? I would love it to be a trilogy of games, and so. I want them to take their time. I understand and I appreciate Nomura saying that he wants to deliver it out fast, because he knows us fans, we want it all. We wanted this remake to be the entire game. So I understand and I appreciate that, but I don't want it to turn into having these smaller experiences and then just have a big, small, big, small, big, small. Like, I don't want that. I want it all contained in as little as packages as possible. I don't want it to be Kingdom Hearts everywhere on 3DS and DS and PSP.
That very much concerns me, because Nomura's behind it. But my other question for you, they also talked about like not taking as many risks or like changes to the overall story. Does that also concern you, Kyle? Because I know on the road to greatness, you did like the things that they were trying to do differently.
Yeah. No. And I don't want to spoil it because Sean is still playing it. So like, I'm sure there's many people out there that also have not beaten it yet.
Cloud turns into a giraffe.
Yes, this is giraffe.
It's crazy,
episode. Dude.
He's like, oh.
I still think they can. I still think they can hit the story beats from the original game and still have that little bit of added newness that is in this one. So I don't. That doesn't bother me too much.
Okay. What say you, Sean? Of the Connery, Capri like the pants. What say you in this moment?
The thing that strikes me about this release is that it matters so much to so many people that people are wondering. They're having that existential like crisis or conversation. Yeah. Is this a Game of the Year contender? Like, it's a remake. Is it allowed to be Game of the Year? And I feel like if that same conversation can happen every time they drop a Final Fantasy VII like iteration, then I feel like that's what they've done to do their job. It would be great if the smaller things were actually unrelated. Like, it would be great if they had like Final Fantasy VII Tactics or something like that too. And I know we're talking about Gears Tactics, but I'm actually thinking like about Final Fantasy Tactics as like this offshoot kind of thing. And also thinking about the way that they did it with Star Wars, where you had your main titles and you had your other stories. My worry is that when you do the smaller ones, like they're kind of talking about here, is that they'll come across like Solo or some of those other ones that nobody really cared about. So I just don't. Just Solo. It would just be, well, I guess that, yeah, Rogue One was good, obviously.
Fucking so good.
My fear is that when it's smaller, it doesn't have the same punch, and then it starts to fatigue a little bit. But if they take just an extra year or whatever it is for when it drops, for it to matter like it matters right now, that should be the goal. And I don't think that, like, Final Fantasy VII is so huge in terms of how popular it is and how much people love it, that they can turn this thing into a 10-year thing and turn into its own, almost like an MCU type of thing, that they can have other ways of satisfying people's thirst for more Final Fantasy VII, whether it's movies or like anime or TV or whatever it is. There's so many other things that they could have surrounding this that can kind of tide you along before the next big iteration.
And people are so nostalgic still for the original that, you know, people are still going bonkers over this one, that people do want to see the continuation of the story. And if it is like how it ends, I'm very excited to see what the future of the series is, but I also am excited to see how they improve upon this, because I don't think this is the perfect game by all means. So to me, I actually like what he's saying here. Faster, cool. A smaller experience, cool. That means less running around stupid side quests, and if it means more linear, that's what I wanted out of this game. That's why I'm not rating it as high as on my imaginary scoreboard. So, like, for me, I actually dig everything Nomura's saying. The only thing that scares me is Nomura made Kingdom Hearts what it is. That's scary. I don't want a Final Fantasy 7.8. You know what I mean? I want a coherent title, coherent message, and I want to make sure that there is a destination that we're hitting at the end of the series, and we're not going to, eat around the meal. We're just gonna get right to it. So with that, Kyle, let's get into the already last story on the list. But Sean, this one is for you, buddy.
Tamor Hussein from GameSpot writes, the Assassin's Creed Valhalla reveal. Ubisoft hosted an all-day stream that ultimately revealed the setting of the next Assassin's Creed game. The setting was shown via a unique piece of artwork produced by Boss Logic, an acclaimed artist known for his awesome Street Fighter pieces and, more recently, his collaborations with Marvel and DC. The final reveal was the official title, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, confirming earlier rumors of a Viking setting. The stream appeared to be leaning that direction long before the title was revealed, though, as the artwork showed an ICC, a central figure dressed in furs, with and brandishing an axe, and prominent placement for a raven. The first trailer is said to be coming tomorrow, April 30th at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Earlier reports have speculated that the next game has been internally codenamed Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. A domain registration for Assassin's Creed Valhalla suggested that could be the title, which turned out to be the case. A Kotaku report from 2019 also included mention of boats, which are seen in the drawings being streamed today, and The Division 2 even hinted at the setting with a series of posters shortly after its launch.
Now, this was one of your game of the year, right, Sean? Odyssey, at least?
Mm-hmm. Game of the generation, to be honest with you. Like, it's really up there for me. I know Kyle's giggling over there about Bloodborne, as usually.
Yeah, I am.
When we talk about game of the generation.
I mean, it is.
But I didn't have it on Xbox, so I often talk about this game. This is one of my favorite games. And, Assassin's Creed has been an interesting series for me because I totally ignored it for 17 or 19 games that they released in the 360 in the early days of it. And I often got kind of like, I wondered what people were getting so excited about when they're like, the setting is this, the location is whatever. And I'm like, so what? Like, it's kind of like the same. You're still just going to be politely like pushing somebody aside in the crowd, whether you're in like London or wherever. And then everything changed with Origins and the entire approach to the game. The fact that it wasn't every single year, The characters, I just felt like the characters really mattered, and the combat mattered. They changed everything about it. And now this is going to be the culmination of what is really a trilogy of games that I'm so hyped for. And I love that they're taking their time. It just makes it feel like it's more of a labor of love rather than a cash cow. And so I get hyped when I see things like that, and I think that's why people get hyped when we're talking about Final Fantasy VII as well. Is that this doesn't feel rushed, and I love the reveal of this too. Like the hints in the Division, I think is really clever. And the way that they did this today of let's just watch a stream of like, who's done this before? It was so great.
And in the age of the situation that we're in right now, in the midst of it, like how would you reveal a game? Mm-hmm. And this is kind of how. It's like, hey, how about just take a very talented artist and just have them literally just bam, make the thumbnail right there for everyone.
Yeah.
That is so freaking awesome. And it is awesome to see them thinking outside the box and going, okay, we need to reveal this. We can't do it in a basketball stadium. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
let's kind of let's go back to basics here. And yeah, Boss Logic knocked it out of the park. It looked sick in the beginning. I was looking at it going, ugh, what is this? But it just goes to show you the mastery behind artists that make everything look so great. You know what I mean?
Makes me want to do the exact same thing. Like just grab a pad of line paper and a big pen because I don't have any art tools or anything like that, and just scribble something together. Like the new,
make a little stick figure.
Yeah, I'll do that for like the Nintendo Guru's next podcast or whatever. I've probably got 3 more coming.
For
out
me, it
at
would
some
just
point.
be playing a game of Minesweeper and slowly uncovering the boxes.
So good.
Yeah, Kyle, what did you think about the reveal?
I think it was cool. I love Assassin's Creed. Odyssey is something that I'm eager to get back to because I stopped playing for whatever reason. I am one of those people that would get freaked out and so hyped for a new location setting. 2 is one of my all-time favorites, and going forward, I've played every single one. So when I saw the work that Boss Logic was doing on this, and it was weird because the left side of it, I saw those boats, right? And with the blue setting, it's like, oh my god, that looks like the God of War cover, almost. And I'm like, okay, well that straight up confirms it's going to be like Vikings and like Norse mythology or something like that. And I'm like, this is sweet. An open world Assassin's Creed game where you have an axe. It's going to feel pretty damn great. And snow, it'd be cool to have realistic snow settings.
And to just think that this is also coming out, we could assume it's also going to be next gen as well.
This could also be a launch title for PS5 and Xbox Series X. And
I should say that now that I'm into the Assassin's Creed series, I do get excited about the setting and the location.
Right?
Like I'm there now. Like I get it about
absolutely.
Like with ancient Greece and everything. Like I was like, oh yes, please give me that. And I think this is super interesting. I just think like London didn't really go like, wow,
sure,
can't wait to go there.
Yeah.
Probably looks.
No, for me, I have to go back to Odyssey because I really enjoyed it, and then something just happened where I just stopped. I think it was Red Dead Redemption came out, and I had to put 60 hours into that boring ass story. I'm so sorry, so sorry. It's really boring, but to me, it is a game that I will be going back to because it resonated with me in a lot of ways, and I hope. I think we can assume because of Odyssey that we also get a female protagonist here as well. Because usually, like when it comes to like Viking like dudes, they kind of look silly to me. I would love to see a badass barbarian looking chick with like a mohawk and just like with a fucking throwing axe.
Face
you
paint.
know what I mean? Hucking, chucking. Yeah, like that. That looks dope to me. So yeah, this is awesome. I'm really excited for it. To me, I'm really excited about what Ubisoft has done with this IP by just going like, yeah, it's going to be every other year. It's going to be whenever the game's ready. And we'll stop making them when you guys stop buying them. And seeing that they took that literal with Unity and then they went back to the drawing board and made one of the best games this generation. Like, you're right, Sean. This, to me, is a defining game in this generation that when you see the montage of games that happened this generation, Odyssey's going to be in there somewhere in one way, shape, or form. Now, it's no Bloodborne, where the original came out 1,883 days ago. Sure. But it's still super important. And again, one that I'm really excited to see. Because I do like the idea of this Viking setting. And also just seeing, like, being in command of like a Viking row ship and like just invading, I don't know, northern Britain because I'm bored.
Dude,
Like,
think about the
that's gonna be
trophy
fun.
you'll get when you kill somebody, put them in a boat, put it off, and then fire a flaming arrow.
Yeah,
and you
Viking
get the
funeral.
Viking funeral.
Hell yeah.
Like, that's a trophy you can look forward to for sure.
Yeah. Press F to pay respects.
Damn.
I guarantee
Yeah,
you that's
as
a
you push it off.
story-related one. That's got to be part
Yeah.
of the story.
Yeah, so there you go. There you have it. Assassin's Creed. We're all hyped for it. I
stoked.
want to know what you guys think. Damn it. I was going to say in the comments down below.
Don't
Rip the comments
Discord.
for a good month and a half. Well, be careful.
come into the Discord.
Careful.
I don't know what to do. Why am I talking?
Damn it, Sean. With that, let's get into, or actually, let's not get into, a question. I have a question for you guys, okay? Are you holding on to something?
Yes.
My butts.
All right. Good. Hold on to each cheek, because today we're preparing the drop. Each and every week, PlayStation launches the greatest and latest in all things PlayStation onto the PlayStation storefront. The only problem is that there are way too many awesome games to list. So each host picks a game of their choosing, talks about why they're so hyped for it. My pick is Book of Demons. The Book of Demons is a hack and slash deck building hybrid in which you decide the length of quests, wield magic cards, and slay armies of darkness in the old cathedral dungeons. Save the terror-stricken paperverse? Alright, whatever. From the clutches of the Archdemon. If you dare, Kyle.
Get it, Joe? Paperverse, Book of Demons. There you go.
Oh.
Got it?
Oh, so it's not creepy. Alright, well. Kyle's pick. What did you pick, Kyle?
A game called Telling Lies, an investigative thriller game with non-linear storytelling. Telling Lies revolves around a cache of secretly recorded video conversations, starring Logan Marshall Green, Alexandra Shipp, Carrie Bechet, and Angela Sarafian, and directed by Sam Barlow, creator of Her Story and Silent Hill: Shattered Memories. This is like full FMV, cool thrill. Like I remember seeing like a making of video like when this was announced. I was like, this sounds super cool.
I'm just thinking this Fleetwood Mac song in my head. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Sean, what's your song? Or, your game that you picked.
So many great games this week, man.
Yeah.
I picked Streets of Rage 4. The reviews dropped today, and they all seem banging.
Really positive.
Really
yeah.
good. It says, amongst the best beat-em-up series ever created, jammin' 90s beats and over-the-top street beatin'. The iconic series Streets of Rage comes back with a masterful tribute to and revitalization of the classic action fans adore.
I like it. I'm into it. I scrolled. Okay, real talk. I didn't know you stopped. Just because I was scrolling through the notes to get to my favorite segment. We got a couple of extra questions this week, and from new people as well. So let's get right into it. Every week, you can usually send your questions in via Twitter at PS Trophy Room or the Casa de Bad Bit Discord server, or you could pen a letter to Andy House, who used to work at PlayStation, but you know how it works. He's pretty much still there. He's still getting notes at something. I don't know. But each and every week, I steal his mail. And sometimes some other things. This week, we got 2 pieces of Andy's mail. This one comes from Back from Dead 1. Should Sony PlayStation bundle 3 months of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now in a new subscription called PlayStation Greatness that you could further subscribe for a discount versus buying separately with a PS5 to promote their subscription-based services? This is a great question, and as we were getting into this show, Benji Sales dropped a awesome number. It looks like Microsoft, when they start selling stuff,
We'll
actually
talk
want to
about
brag
it.
about things. Yeah, we'll talk about it now. 10 million active subscribers to Game Pass, which is huge. That's buku money
That's
right there.
$10 million because they gave them all away for $1 each.
Yeah, I mean, first, what do you think about the 10 million number? Do you think it is a little bloated because they're giving it away for free practically, or what do you think when it comes to the PlayStation 5 when it gets released? Do you see them kind of packaging in PS Now for 3 months to get people hooked onto the service the way Xbox has had?
No, I think it's. I don't think that it's bloated at all. I think it's this is the cost of acquiring customers, is either discounts or marketing dollars that you're expending, things like that. So it's not bloated at all. It's like how else do you can't just hope people see value in it. Like obviously there is, but there has to be.
Sean,
an
I'm going to stop you there. If that's the case, then that destroys my narrative that Game Pass sucks.
Yeah, I know. Well, sorry, man. Sorry, dude. But I think to PlayStation's credit, like they haven't had to do that. They haven't been forced to do that just yet. But as soon as they did, there's value to be found in. Like they even sliced the price in half, and they saw subscriptions go up as well. So people want this type of service, and yeah, no, I think it's great for Xbox. I'm very curious. I don't know if we have a number on the PlayStation side, but I feel like that number somehow would be bigger. For some reason, I expect.
No, it's definitely. I think.
Or are we talking about hundreds of thousands? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a couple 100,000, and then all of a sudden we've ballooned up to about 1 million in change. They really do need to do more with this service. We keep echoing it. The current state has gotten better, but it needs to be improved because Game Pass is just a better service. Like there's no ifs and or buts about it. Like for me, I have not. I think I even said a couple episodes before, but like I just realized PlayStation is the last platform that I play games physically on. Like my Xbox is literally just a Game Pass machine.
Yeah.
I've not bought a Xbox game since God knows when.
I don't know why you would.
And my Switch is, I don't even know why anymore either. And I think, I'll bring a question over to you in a second, but like my Switch as well, just digital everything. Now, do you think though it is maybe something that Microsoft needs to do in the future, where I see a lot of people like with the Red Dead Redemption announcement, which is huge. Congratulations, Microsoft and Phil. A lot of people go, man, I ain't going to buy another, AAA game on an Xbox console. I'm just going to wait. Do you think that is a worrying sentiment that you're beginning to hear now?
No, I don't think it's worrying. I think it's exactly what they want. Like, I think that they're trying to convince people to lock in on a long-term, like, dollars out of my wallet commitment for a long time, because that's way more dependable on that revenue than maybe you'll buy this game, maybe you won't. Maybe this big game will come out on the same day as something else comes out, in which case we miss you. Like, there is so much that lands on trying to get the customer to buy a game on that day one. It is so important in that week one that you'd almost go, well, if I didn't have to worry about that day one quite so much, then I'm in a better spot. And that's exactly where Xbox is going. And this is their strong suit. Like, people often laud them and they say like services, and the word almost like loses its meaning after a while. But like, they started Xbox Live. Like, they were the ones who said you should have a high-speed internet connection on your Xbox 360, even though nobody has high-speed, or I'm sorry, even on the original Xbox. They were so in front of the game, and they continue to benefit from that in a lot of ways that PlayStation benefits for being the first in a lot of the things that they were first in. But being online, like that 90 million Xbox Live subscribers is the number that jumped out to me as like, that's insane. So they just continue to flex that.
Let me ask you a question. It goes a little bit further than PS Now and it needing work, because we again, beating a dead horse here. It does. It needs a little bit of.
It's already dead.
My question for you, Sean: what does PlayStation have to do to get you back in their boat?
I've never left.
Is it?
I'm still in the boat.
You left.
I never left.
You're a goddamn traitor.
I bought Final Fantasy VII Remake. I bought Death Stranding. I bought all the games. I don't know what more you guys want. We buy 2 PlayStation Plus
Ray doesn't believe you, and honestly, Ray's convincing me.
I know nobody believes me, but we spend at least $150 on subscriptions a year in this house.
God. Well, my question for you: what's it going to take for you to turn the Xbox Drive into the PlayStation track? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to take for you to be as enthusiastic as you are for Xbox for PlayStation?
It's honestly, that question is more about like, when is my PlayStation podcast starting? It's just like whenever Kyle quits, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be. I'll be right here. I'm next in line.
Fucking ice.
I'm next in line.
Thin fucking ice, Kyle.
I mean, Sean, we could just get together and cut Joe out too. You know what
That's
I mean?
true. I have options.
You could cut me out of the fucking thing.
I totally have.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
I mean, Chelsea and I are going to play Fallout 76 tonight. It's date night. We're going to play Fallout 76 on our PlayStations tonight. So, I get a lot of shade about the whole Xbox thing versus PlayStation. I've bought more PlayStations than most listeners. All right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
get a lot of shit too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle hits me every time we're all fair. He's like, "You played on Xbox, didn't you?" I'm like, "No, mister, I didn't." He's like, "I could smell it off your greasy hands. You know what that means?" I'm like, "No, please don't." He's like, "That's a slap in the mouth." And I'm like, "Ah."
The furthest from my character ever, right there.
He's he's a real threatening force. But that's what I don't know, Kyle, if you get it too, of what's gonna rip me away from PlayStation while I'm enjoying myself here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are yeah, Game Pass is great. I'm not going to diminish it. I just like playing on my PlayStation a little bit more. That's it.
Yeah,
I like Last of Us.
That's exactly what it is. I play my PlayStation more than anything else, even my Switch. That's where I enjoy playing. And I think this bundle of the PS Plus and PS Now is a great idea. As someone who just bought PS Now for a year because it was on sale for $45.
Was it?
Smart.
Yeah, I think today's the last day, Joe. So if you want it,
sorry,
listeners.
But
yeah,
no, that's awesome.
Especially in a time where games are going to be not as trickling out. You know what I mean? What better way to go to PS Now and play the backlog of stuff that you missed?
Yeah, because all they really need to do for me is just hey, listen, once a first party game graces PS Now, it stays there instead of this bullshit. It's there for 2.5 months. I'm looking at you, Spider-Man. Give me a hard, stead reason to stay here. That's gonna hook me into that ecosystem for a long time. That's what they need. I just don't think they have that yet. But what Sean, you said, they don't need to. The game's so fucking buku. Horizon Zero Dawn, first game of that series, 10 million plus units. Crazy. They don't need that approach. With that, let's get to the final question. Okay, it's Antonio who needs more sleep. Please, Antonio, fucking take a nap, man. Antonio,
Energy drinks.
He's losing. He's losing it, man. He's losing his marbles.
He's got a baby girl, man. Have you seen his baby girl? Beautiful.
I don't know about that. I don't know. If I'm losing sleep over something, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about kids. Anyway, if Xbox was a car, what kind would it be? This one's for you, dear Mr. Capri. I'm thinking an economical Honda Accord. If PlayStation was a car, what would it be? I'm thinking a Subaru Sport with a tail spoiler and a loud muffler. Sean, what is the car on the logo of the Drive?
Okay, so I actually don't know what I don't know what that car is. Adam Leonard would be better suited to answer that question. He's close on the Honda, but I would actually put the Honda for PlayStation. I think PlayStation is the Prelude, a 1992 Honda Prelude, really just with ground effects and 2 subs in the back. It is so cool. It's just sickening how cool it is, and that's why I can't play it because I'm not cool enough.
That's true.
But the Xbox is going to be like a McLaren or something. It's going to be the most powerful car there is. With all the car with the most teraflops.
Honestly, here's how you get
Model
me
T, Tesla
on an Xbox podcast. If the Xbox was like a DeLorean, I'm there. Forget about everything. You give me a DeLorean, Back to the Future 2, that's the dream.
I'll make it a Batmobile. Some people, but this question doesn't make any sense. Let's make it the Batmobile. I don't care.
Listen,
PlayStation's the bike
dream.
from ET.
Ooh, that one fucking flies.
It flies, dude. Thank you. It wasn't a knock.
Because my biggest dream in life, and I'll know I make it, is if I get a Back to the Future DeLorean, again, Back to the Future 2, and one night I'm just I'm gonna speed, and then the cops, I get a ticket for the cops, but as they're chasing me, I just turn the lights off. I hit the nitro, and you get the Back to the Future, and then just turn the lights off, and then they'll think I've gone back in time.
I love how disappointed Kyle is, and Kyle should be disappointed because you walked into this one. The DeLorean from Back to the Future 2, you dump garbage into it, all right? It's fueled on garbage, so yeah, go ahead, have it. The one that runs on garbage.
That's eco-friendly.
Yeah, that's true.
You got a Mr. Coffee machine on there. Joke's on you.
That was Spaceballs. Right?
I'm the next Elon Musk.
Oh, God.
Wasn't it?
Oh, quarantine's getting to you,
I think
Joe.
Mr. Coffee was awful.
Call it Mr. Coffee.
Kyle, what's the PlayStation car to you, sir?
I don't know. I'm awful with cars. I was trying to think of a pun this entire time. It still has not come to me. I was thinking like Xbox, and then again, this is not a knock. I'm thinking in terms of like having Game Pass, making sure everyone can play. Like a minivan with like a cooler with orange slices, like a mom bringing to the game.
That's a knock.
That is not a knock.
knock
It's not a knock. You pay a subscription pass, and everyone can play and have fun and enjoy themselves.
I take back my answer. I take it should be like an American muscle car. It should be some sort of like Camaro or Mustang or something like that.
I could dig a and then like since Sony's Japanese, it would be, I think like, oh my god, you know what it is? It's a Mitsubishi. From Fast and the Furious, one of those cool ones with a dope ass spoiler.
Oh, the Eclipse! Remember the Mitsubishi Eclipse?
Fuck yeah, dude!
These cars are so lame. That's the best part about this whole question is that these cars suck. I'm just kidding. If anybody drives these cars, I'm super jealous. I wish I had your car.
Yeah, right. Also, Antonio has one question: if my child grows up not to like video games, should I still love them? Sean, you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
What if you find out Link's just like...
No, he should have... I think it's actually... It may be too late for you, Antonio, and I'll look right into the camera for this one. It might be too late because you're supposed to do it like the ancient Greeks in Sparta that they would do. And they would look at the kid up and down like they're just brand new. Like, does he like video games? And if there's any sense that he doesn't like video games, over the cliff.
Oh, shit.
Just yeet some.
What do you think, Kyle? Should we yeet this kid off a cliff like video games?
I feel if I don't say yes, I will also be yeeted off a cliff. So sure.
Just yeet some.
That has been the trophy room. But before we go, let's plug, and get the hell out of here. Sean, you go first since you've been an amazing guest.
Oh, like always, I like to plug myself. Who Dat Ninja 73 on... Wait a minute. Oh, that's Kyle. I listen to this show a lot. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And if you even like video games just a little bit, you might want to check out the Xbox Drive. It comes out on the same day as this. You can listen to this show first if you like, and then jump over to the Xbox Drive. It's 30 to 40 minutes. We have a super fun time, and we read your questions, and I really enjoy it. So if you guys want to check out the Xbox Drive, it's the Xbox Drive on Twitter and all the podcast feeds, etc.
Kyle, you're next.
Who Dat Ninja 73 on Twitter and on PSN. You can find my show about the kind of funny community called Best Friends Talk Funny at BFS Talk Funny on Twitter. And if you're ever in New York after all this craziness, kindofnyc.com.
And you can find this show over at Bad Big Games. We talk about all things games, news, reviews, and unboxings. You can find this podcast over on iTunes, over on Spotify. And if you could give us a 5-star review, we're 3 5-star reviews away for the magical number that is 69. So that would be greatly appreciated. Again, if we get them, we will read them on the show. And if you're not from North America and or America itself and you give us a review, please make sure to screenshot it and send it to us at the PS Trophy Room on Twitter. We'll read that on the show. So usually I check Canada, the US, and Great Britain. So if you're in outside those regions, please, again, PS Trophy Room, send it to us. We'll read it on the show. Everybody has a fun time. And so with that, again, you can find me, Mr. Badbit, on Twitter. And with all that said, and with all that out of the way, everybody keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation.